Hi, this is Mike and Nate from Rock Manor Games, and I'm here today to give you an early glimpse at our next game, Maximum Apocalypse. Maximum Apocalypse is a cooperative game for up to 4 players, where you're trying to accomplish a specific mission in a post-apocalyptic world. The game is designed to have a ton of replayability and variety. Players choose which survivor class they want to play as, and then as a group they pick their mission and the specific apocalypse that they want to try to accomplish. The final step is creating a randomized map to explore based on the scenario. So every time that you play, you're exploring a completely new map with surprises, dangers, and help along the way. Well, that's enough about the game. Let's get into showing you sort of what the early prototype looks like and how the game plays. Each survivor has their own unique deck of equipment and actions. The gunslinger is one of the best ranged damage dealers but relies on ammo, whereas the stealthy hunter is excellent at scoping out the landscape and deadly with her bow. For this example, I'm going to play as the fireman, who acts as the close range tank of the group. As you can see, I've taken the liberty of setting up the table. Just to give you a quick overview of sort of what everything is, we have the map in the center. Maximum Apocalypse is a roguelike, so we don't know what are under these tiles, and a lot of the game is anticipating and scoping out the landscape and making sure you don't step into traps. Over here on the left, we have the 3 scavenge decks. When you're on certain tiles, you can scavenge, and the color indicates which deck you're to draw from. Obviously, the green deck is more likely to have food, the blue deck is more likely to have ammunition or gear, and the red deck is more likely to have what we call supplies, which is fuel and medical supplies. We have the monster deck in the top left, and some red tokens, wooden tokens, which will act as our damage and damage tracking, bullets, etc. throughout the game. So one of the very unique things about Maximum Apocalypse is that the map is different every time that you play. I randomly made this map from a random set of tiles for this particular mission. Not only are the tiles randomly placed, I also placed them in a random sort of configuration. So you can design a map, you can make a simple square map, you can make maps with branches and different lines. As long as every tile is connected, it's a legitimate map. The final setup stage of the game is once you and your team has been assembled, you drive in with your van to one of the outside tiles on the map. And since your van is sort of beat up and noisy, when that happens, every player draws a monster card. So for this particular scenario we're playing is the zombie apocalypse. So we draw monsters, placing them in front of the heroes that will be fighting them. Another thing that is unique about Maximum Apocalypse and sort of an ongoing threat is that in the post-apocalyptic world, food is very scarce. So your characters are not only struggling to stay alive and not be killed by monsters, but they're actually slowly starving to death and need to make sure that they're finding and eating food throughout the landscape. So we have a dice that we use to indicate the hunger level of each character that we place next to it, and that'll become more involved when it's actually a turn. Once we have everything set up, each player draws 5 cards from their character deck. Then you pick who goes first. Every character deck is made up of 2 types of cards. There's instant cards, which have the lightning bolt in the upper left. Those cards are played sort of as a one-time, one-shot card, and they just go in your discard pile. Whereas equipment cards have the backpack in the upper left-hand corner, and once they come out and play, they stay in play, typically giving you access to new actions that you can take. So now that we're sort of ready to go, I'll give you an example turn, sort of an early turn in the game, so you can get a sense of how the game plays. The first thing you do at the start of your turn is you increase your hunger. You start getting more and more hungry. Hunger is not a problem until your dice hits 6 on your hunger level. Then your character card is flipped over and you start starving to death, taking irreducible damage based on your starvation until you die. So it's really important in this game to make sure that you're exploring and finding food to eat, or you will perish, whether there are monsters on you or not. So after you increase your hunger, you roll 2 dice, which indicates monster spawning. Basically early in the game, it's not really a major threat. You just want to make sure you don't roll a 6, because then you'll all have to draw new monster cards. So after increasing your hunger and spawning monsters, your turn sort of actually starts. Every turn, characters get up to 4 actions. You can do as many actions as, you can do any number of actions any number of times, but you have to use the draw card action or move 1 space action at least once. So you can't just stay still and play cards. You have to at least move or draw cards. So we're going to start a turn, sort of show you what happens. For my first action, I'll be the red piece to represent the fireman. I'm going to move a tile to sort of show you how that works. So I'm going to move to the right here, which reveals the tile. Lucky for me, it's nothing too bad. It's a grocery store. So when you reveal the grocery store, when you flip it for the first time, you actually get a free scavenge action, which means I draw from the scavenge deck and I got some food. So I will not have to worry about starving anytime soon. I've got a little apple or Cheeto or something that I can eat to reduce my hunger. So I do have this monster in front of me that's going to deal damage to me at the end of my turn. So I'm going to play the shotgun from my hand, equip it. The shotgun takes up 2 slots in my storage. Each character only has 3 slots. So the shotgun is a big daddy powerful weapon, but it does take up more room in my hands than some other stuff. So I start with 4 bullets in the shotgun when I play it, and I'm going to use its action. For my third action, I'm going to use the shotgun to deal 3 damage to the target in front of me, and it does an additional 1 damage to any monsters that are sitting in front of my character. So it's going to be 4 total damage to the zombie. And I spent an ammunition. So for my 4th and final action, I'm actually going to use my shotgun again to kill the soldier and end my turn and remain unscathed, not taking any damage. So I fast forwarded the game a little bit here just to show you how the game changes as it gets a little further on. Obviously the goal of most missions is to find a particular place, rescue a particular person, complete some sort of objective, and then get back to your van with enough gas to fuel it up and escape this particular map. So as you're playing, you're not only going to want to be scavenging for food so that you can survive and not starve, but you're also going to be looking for gas stations and fuel to fuel up your car to actually win the scenario. So the game's a little further on. At the start of my turn, I need to increase my hunger. So now I'm at 6, so I'm actually starting to starve. So my card will flip over, and if I don't eat any food, I will take 2 damage on the hunger tracker. And then on the subsequent turn, if I don't eat, I'll take 4, 6, etc. So I'm in trouble there. I also have more monsters in front of me, and I only have 1 bullet left in my shotgun. So we're going to roll the dice, and I hit a 6. So monsters appear at every tile that has a 6 on it, if there's no players on it. And then since I'm sitting on a 6, I actually draw an additional monster. So I'm in big trouble here. So the first thing I'm going to do with my first action is I'm going to discard my lighter to do 3 damage to all of the monsters in front of me. As my second action, use the final bullet from my shotgun to shoot this zombie dog, which will kill him. And then I do an additional 1 damage to the monsters on the side of him. So it's 2 actions. I have to move or draw a card. So I'm going to draw a card. And then as my final action, I'm actually going to use my fire extinguisher instant, which stuns all monsters in range until the start of my next turn. So I'm not going to take any damages from those monsters. But I'm running low on cards here, and I'm starting to starve, so things are looking bleak. But that's the basics of the game and how it's played. The The basics are very simple. A lot of the complexity and strategy comes from the individual class decks and the monsters that you're facing, or the apocalypse scenario that you're facing, and then obviously how lucky or unlucky you are in revealing the tiles in the map. So I hope that quick overview gives you a sense of what Maximum Apocalypse is like and what you can expect from it in the coming months. We're currently working on the art, so you can see that some artwork like the monsters and firemen are done, and some of the artwork still needs to be finished, like the food and maps. But thanks for watching, and I hope that you'll sign up for our newsletter and keep up to date with how we progress with the game.